Hello and welcome back. This is Far Cry 5. We're going to do a review on it. And most of the reviews I've seen are ones you've probably seen on YouTube, just basically going through the gameplay and seeing if you like it. This is going to be a much more technical review, kind of looking at the just how the game plays, and kind of all the background stuff you have to do in a game to make it work. So first off, this game came under some fire from quite a few people for not being against religion too much, and that was actually one of the reasons I picked up, because it actually features a culp as not anti-religion, which is unique nowadays. Speaking as a religious person, it's kind of refreshing to do that. So to get into kind of the basic storylines, or the basics of it, you have three major regions. Each one's controlled by a different person. So we have Faith controls this region over here, John controls the region down here, and Jacob controls this region up here. Defeat all of them and you can... Nope, that's Dutch's Island. There we go. Then you can go after Joseph in his cult compound. So, yeah, you defeat them by going in there, performing missions, gaining resistance points, essentially. You complete enough resistance points, and you eventually will defeat the big boss. One of the things that happens in the game is that once you get a certain amount of resistance points, the resistant leaders come after you and take you in some way. John pretty much just sends an army, and they capture you, and you're taken up to... Let me close up here. To this general area, John's Gate area. And imprisoned, and you do different things to escape from that. Jacob's is actually a little bit more disturbing. You're taken up to this house area here, and subject to brainwashing and things like that, and you get in and out in different ways. Now, Faith's doesn't actually come and take you. Now, what happens in Faith's region is they're manufacturing a drug called Bliss. And so, essentially, it's called entering the Bliss when she takes you. It's basically like a really bad drug trip, and she sees and talks to you in a very convincing way about her things. About, you know, why she's doing what she's doing and all that stuff. It's possibly the most creepy of all of them. So, one thing that impressed me playing through the game is how familiar this is to me. I was not raised in this area, but I was raised in a comparable area, very similar area, and they did the people spot on, which was something I was not expecting them to have gotten the people so well. In this sort of area, the two things that are that most people are going to be for are God and country, patriotism, essentially, and religion. And they have that right on. Most of the people you encounter are very much into patriotism, very, very big on that sort of thing. There's a certain exaggeration of certain things. Let's see if I can find... yes, it's going to be one of these. So this is one of those exaggerations. It's a side mission you have where you have it's essentially starts out and it seems to be a straightforward hunting mission until this guy, who you can actually barely understand, insists that the animals you collect, you don't shoot, but you run them over and bring them in, essentially roadkill. And what I found hilarious is that, you know, growing up, I knew people. I didn't know anyone specifically who did that, who would get roadkill, but I knew plenty of people you kind of suspected did, and it just reminded me of that. And just all these little details like that, which may be exaggerated, but are very reminiscent of growing up in this sort of community in these sort of areas, without being offensive towards the areas. Stereotypes, but no offensive stuff, that, you know, like the... crop circle area we have here. Actually, pretty near where I grew up and lived, a couple of farmers did a fake crop circle that, if looked at from a certain direction, was actually their name spelled out. It was kind of a funny little thing they did. So, like I said, very reminiscent of where I grew up. So, yeah, it's very nice, very fun to play. So the gameplay is pretty fun. So let's go through and see what we've got to do. So, you have the straightforward missions. You have story missions, which will definitely get you the resistance points. You have... Wait, let's see if I can go. Oh, I always hit the wrong buttons on this. Then you have, like, the side missions, just little things you can do, which will get you money and whatever. You've got cult outposts to take down. I'll admit, I have not been taking down cult outposts. That's the one thing I have been doing in the game. The one thing I have been doing are prepper stashes. I've done quite a few of those. And what they are is basically somebody has saw that the cult was gaining power, and they stashed all their gear hidden in some place, and then something would happen and they'd get killed. So basically it's finding a way into their prepper stash and getting all the stuff they left behind. Now, the convenient thing is it gives you money, but it also gives you these magazines, which increase your perk points, which can be spent to get, more advantages, more... We'll get to perk points in a second, but you can get a lot of them from prepper stashes, so highly recommend doing that. Now, the roster. I've gotten a little more than half of the people I'm supposed to get on my roster, the specialists. And these are people who can be called to help you, and if you unlock the right sort of perks, you can do more than one at a time. The two I generally do are Peaches, or no, not Peaches. This is Peaches. I do Peaches here, and Cheeseburger, who are pretty darned good in most situations. They are really good ground troops. The only time these guys get overwhelmed is when I'm dealing with someone aerial support taking them out, which is pretty true of most of the specialists anyway, and flamethrower people. I actually prefer going with the animals. One of the reasons is that the humans tend to talk a lot, which isn't too bad. This is one of the things that didn't quite ring true with me, is that a lot of language comes from these people. Now, I can understand they're mad about the cult, and I knew quite a few people who had, shall we say, salty ways of talking. But it feels more like they're swearing as much as they would swear in say, from a big city as opposed to this rural community. That's just my general impression. I could be wrong on that. Although they do say some pretty funny things here and there, but, when you're trying to sneak around, you don't want people constantly talking in your ear. So that's the only downside I've had to these people coming and helping you out. With the bear and the cougar, and even the dog. Oh, isn't he so cute? You don't have that problem. So, and they're pretty fun. One minor thing, Peaches here is supposed to be very stocky, but so often when I've used her she's supposed to be kind of stealth, that you can use her to take out somebody on the periphery, and she'll do it without alerting anyone else. And that's happened a few times, but more than once, I've sent her in to take somebody out, and she will, instead of circling around the camp and take them out without being noticed, she'll actually run through the camp and tackle someone and alert everybody. So, she's kind of a hit or miss for stealth. She's much better for stealth here. Jess Black. She uses arrows and so on. But, that's just my quick little impression of them, and can't speak for all of these other people, although I've heard good things about most of them. So, yeah, it's a pretty good system. It's nice to have backup. It's also nice that if you get knocked out or, take too much damage, you'll collapse, and if you have somebody who's non-collapsed, specialist with you, then they will eventually come to you and they'll revive you, so you don't have to restart or anything like that. So that's very nice. So this is kind of how they do perks, which are essentially additional abilities you can get. Basically, yeah, you unlock the perk points, and there are a few different ways to unlock perk points. One of them is the perk magazines you can pick up, and yep, you go through, you unlock things that could be useful. For the most part, it's not like a traditional skill tree, in that most of them you don't have to unlock something else before you can get to it. There are exceptions. So I have to take out a lieutenant, which I'm not even sure where a lieutenant is at this point in my playing, to be able to get an additional health boost. And in this one, for example, Booby Trap, I need to unlock the previous skill to do it. And for these down here, these are exclusive to your specialist, so you need to unlock the specialist before you can get these abilities, which basically allows them to recover more quickly if they're injured. And yeah, but they're pretty much all useful little things you can acquire, and really the order you get them in depends on your own personal gameplay, what you would prefer to have when you do it. There's a couple that are actually quite, useful that you don't really think about immediately. The human fish one, just, if you have to go underwater and grab something, which there's a couple side missions where you do, it's useful to have that. Or if people are shooting at you and you need to get underwater and get away from them. Things like that. And then just, you can get additional items for your inventory, stuff like that. And yeah, each of them have their own little function, own little thing you can do with them. Wingsuit one was pretty fun to unlock and do it. And airdrop, that one's just fun, and if you don't want to just come out. So you have fast travel in the game where you can go to any area, and this gives you the option where when you fast travel to an area, you can actually start way above the area and parachute in. It's very fun, very nice. So, now, challenges are things that will unlock additional perks. So if you get so many kills with the flamethrower, you get some unlocked. These are like, the time you spent in co-op, that sort of thing. But this is, if you rescue enough civilians, you'll get some, that sort of thing. And then, how many people your specialists take out, you'll get perks for that as well. Although I'm not quite sure how that one works, because it doesn't really... It's nothing you're doing, it's you're just... Yep, you hired the right guy. And then hunting. If you do enough hunting, you'll get perks as well for different things, depending on what you do. And, yep. So, yeah, and you've got the different inventory things you can get and components. So, we'll start this. These are throwables, basically bombs and knives. And meat. Now, the bait, I don't really use it that often, but it's kind of interesting. So if you throw the bait towards people, strangely enough, nobody will notice that you're throwing meat at them, but it will attract wild animals who will attack them. So it's kind of an interesting little thing you can do, and I understand it's in a few of the Far Cry games, so kind of fun. Homeopathics, these are like, basically, yeah, they give you a quick little boost or advantage. However, if you take more than one, I think if you take like 3 at once, it'll make your vision all screwy and stuff like that, and probably not all that good for you long-term wise. And then you have components, which means you can craft certain things like the homeopathics or the bombs or so on. Very nice. And then you've got special ammo. Now, so, slight little complaint about the game here on my own personal playthrough. I was recently captured for a second time by John in his area. And, he took me away, all my weapons were taken away and so on, which you expect. Now, what you can usually do is, once you buy a weapon, it's always available to you in the store. But I had also bought ammo. All this ammo I had picked up and bought, just, to have, just in case, for the point when I'd get the weapon or I'd need the weapon for a specific reason, I had the ammo set for it. All my ammo was taken away, so I'm at the point where I'm having to rebuild my armor-piercing ammo or my incendiary shotgun ammo. So yeah, there's that. And for some reason, you keep every single key you grab to open doors. It's like, okay, yeah, that works. And then collectibles, stuff that you pick up along the way. There's cheeseburger bobbleheads everywhere. which is kind of good. Vinyl records, that sort of thing. And I got a baseball card for some reason. Very, very fun. So here's the online things. Now, haven't done any live events. Haven't done the invite friends. Arcade, I did a quick little video of me playing through some of the arcade ones. The arcades remind me very much of the original Dooms, because they're very set levels and areas, and you work your way through them and get to the end with one or so objectives. You use the tools from the game. One of the downs, you get a lot of the stuff you unlock in the game you can use in the arcade. I was a little bit bummed out that you can't carry over the weapons, so, you know, if I get can use a shotgun at a certain level, I don't get the really cool red shotgun that I have. I have to use an ordinary shotgun. That's the only real downside I've seen to it, but, you know, it's such a minor thing that's like, hardly worth complaining about. So, yeah, pretty fun to play there. And finally, character customization. Pretty much, I've run into this before in character customization, is that pretty much the outfit I like the best is the stuff that's available from the very beginning. So the shirt was the first shirt I ever got, is the one she's wearing. The gloves are also the ones she's wearing. I don't like any of the other gloves in the games. The only thing that I've changed is the pants, because I liked how they looked. I liked that they had the rigging for the guns on these pants. And I just recently got the cowboy hat and added the cowboy hat. Pretty much most everything else that you get in the game is, you know, okay, but, you know, probably okay to have, but I'd never really change into those things. They're just not as fun or as good. So, there is that. Plus, I think I actually kind of like how she looks. I think that's a good character design for the most part for her, and but it's like, yeah, I had the problem with Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I had the same issue. The best outfit was the Assassin's outfit in there. You couldn't really get cooler outfits, or you couldn't, like, change from one outfit to another just because one looked cooler. It just, you know, it's just every once in a while you find these customizations where, you know, what you start out with is generally the best thing to wear. So, go figure. So, let's move back. So, in conclusion, pretty fun game. That's a quick look at really all the fun stuff you can do behind the scenes and kind of how it works. Yeah, like and subscribe if you like it, and yeah, let me know if this was a useful review or not. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.